Well, good morning. I am doing a epilogue of my trip south that I did earlier in the year in 2025. It was in May that I did this trip, actually end of April and May, but I thought I would do a epilogue first as a prologue, I guess you could say, and summarize the trip before you see the several videos I'm going to make afterwards of riding and things like that. This was different than some of my other trips where, like last year, 2024, when I went out west and took my dual sport, or 2022 when I rode east all the way out to West Quoddy Head, Maine. So that was the easternmost point of the United States. I had two goals for this trip. One was to get to the southernmost point of the continental United States, which was in Key West, Florida, and to also see Ernest Hemingway's house in Key West, where he did much of his most influential and creative writing in the 1930s and even into the 40s. So I had those two goals, and along the way I was able to visit my oldest sister Lynn in Fort Walton Beach area. She lives there. And my wife Jody flew down for a few days to Tampa to visit some friends of ours, the Brennings, who live there. So it was actually 24 days total, but of that I had probably 6 days, something like that, where I wasn't actually riding. So it wasn't as deadheading, horrifically sounding as it might be saying 24 days. Now, having said all of that, I did much video shooting this time because a lot of the travel was on freeways, and I'm not a fan of freeways. I mean, they're okay. The good part is, I was riding Big Blue here behind me, which I can cruise all day on the freeway without breaking a sweat. It's a great bike for that type of riding, but there wasn't a lot of real scenic type areas that I went to that I thought were video worthy. Freeway is freeway. I mean, it's not very interesting. So real quick, I believe I covered 15 states, something like that. And from Minnesota, it was straight south down to Arkansas, and I was able to ride through parts of western Arkansas, stayed in Eureka Springs, beautiful area, a lot of twists and turns, and you'll see I have a short video compilation of some of the roads that I rode on in Arkansas that I would just say it was I gave myself a cramp in my left foot and my shifting foot because I was shifting gears so much. It was like all of these roads were like rollers and twisters and very little shoulder, and it was great fun, but very challenging in a constancy. You always had to be paying attention, always aware of what was going on. You'd have the occasional gravel patches in the middle of the road, things like that. It was a great trip, loved that part of it especially. From there, I kind of headed south and east toward Mobile, stopped and visited the USS Alabama battleship. It's a fairly rainy day, so I didn't take any video of that. Then went along kind of the Panhandle, visited my sister, and then over to Tampa, and then all the way south. And I didn't actually stay in Key West. I stayed in a town called Homestead, or I guess the suburbs. It's like one of the westernmost suburbs of Miami before you reach the Everglades. And I actually rode through the Everglades and was appreciating the fencing on both sides of the road, so that the gators weren't out sunning themselves on the road, things like that. The one thing I did find was that in Florida, you just could not count on the weather. I would look at the predictions in the morning, and it's like, oh, okay, this looks like maybe there's a chance of rain, whatever. And by the time it got to be mid-afternoon, I'd be riding along and look up, and it's like, oh crap, here comes a monsoon. And literally it would be just like that. It would just roll in off the Gulf, not planned, not predicted. And there were several times that I was quite literally blind. I was riding on freeways and I'd slow down to about 45. I was hunkered down behind the windscreen, but I still, couldn't see. I had rain pouring down in through the top of my helmet visor. I mean, everything was wet. I would, you know, be done and I'd pour water out on my boots. It was that bad. And even with rain gear on, you still got wet. It was just this, all of a sudden you'd be riding along and you look up and there's this monsoon and it would just crash down on you. So maybe that's Florida in May. I know there's other times a year it's beautiful there, but I will say I pretty much don't have any desire to ever ride back there again. Drive maybe, but not ride. There was one time, I will say, it was actually very, very touching for me, that I was riding along. It was south of Tampa. This storm comes in and just dumping on me, and you know, the freeway speed is like 70 or whatever it was at that point, and I slowed down to about 45 because I figured, well, you know, not that I was worried about my tires or grip, but like anything else, you know, it's raining that hard, you're gonna hydroplane if you're not careful. So I slow down and I'm looking in my rear view mirror and I see this red car, kind of like a small sort of a hatch type vehicle, and it has a light bar across the roof, and he's got the lights going and he's got his flashers on, and I realized it was one of those like highway helper type cars, people that's their job. And he's stayed with me for like a solid 10 miles until I felt until I reached an exit where I could pull off and, you know, wait out the rest of the rain. I gave him a wave off, you know, a wave thank you when, you know, when he finally passed me, when I was able to pull off. But I figured it was far worse to pull off on the side of the freeway with cars still going excessively fast than to keep going, even though I was really having a hard time seeing. And it's like, okay, this person was definitely a guardian angel, or just doing their job, sure, but it was actually, I appreciated every moment of that person's dedication, their job, their kindness to help me out that way. The other thing I thought that was really nice is it seemed like this entire trip, everywhere I stopped, gas stations, rest stops, whatever it was, you know, and I'd be there with the bike, people would come over, they'd talk to me. A lot of them couldn't believe that I had a Minnesota plate and had ridden all the way from Minnesota. But almost to a person, they would wish me safe travels. And it was actually very kind and very thoughtful, and I really appreciated the gesture and the energy that went with that. So it was it was I'll say a fun trip, in that the people contact and being around all the people that I was with was amazing, and I really enjoyed that. The roads were not very exciting. I mean, it was a lot of freeway, but I did stop on the way back north at like the Barber racetrack, but it's also the motorcycle museum. I've got some video of that, which is just an amazing place. And then also another unique rare auto museum in, I believe in Nashville. But that's one of those where, you know, after those two stops, I had like 2 days of like 500-mile days. It was just, there were several days that it was I felt like I qualified for an iron butt patch and a couple of pins. But it was a wonderful trip. Don't think I'll ever do that route again. Most of where I want to ride in the future is going to be out west, West Coast, Rocky Mountains, that sort of thing. But so this is the end of the prologue, post-ride prologue, if that makes sense. And I hope you enjoy. I think I don't remember how many I'm going to make, but probably half a dozen, 5-6 videos out of the trip. And just wanted to kind of recap before you watch those. Anyway, hope you enjoy the rest of the videos, and that's it for me.